20 years ago today, Steven Gerrard famously spoke those memorable words after Luis Garcia scored what would become one of the most debated and iconic goals in football history, a goal that pushed Liverpool past Premier League champions Chelsea and into the Champions League final by a single goal across two fiercely contested legs. Gerrard's prediction came true. People did indeed talk. In fact, they've never really stopped. In the days and weeks that followed that dramatic night at Anfield, a legend began to take shape across Merseyside, one wrapped in nostalgia, mystery, and a sense of romantic footballing fate. It was said that a former Liverpool club secretary, now retired and elderly, had been seated directly in line with the goal line. When asked whether the ball had actually crossed the line during Garcia's now infamous strike, she reportedly gave a firm and confident response: yes, it did. And with that, for many, the matter was settled. After all, who better to trust than someone with a grandmotherly presence, someone you might entrust with your savings, your front door key, or even your cherished matchday ticket? Whether her account was rooted in reality or became another cherished part of football folklore remains uncertain. Still, the moment added yet another twist to a night already bursting with emotion and significance. That semi-final wasn't just another football match. It carried a certain electricity, a rare fusion of hope, history, and belief that only European nights at Anfield can generate. Chelsea manager Jose Mourinho had spoken confidently before the game, vowing that his Premier League winning side would not be overwhelmed by the intensity and passion of an Anfield crowd. Meanwhile, Liverpool supporters, driven by the thought of reaching a European Cup final many had only ever seen through the fuzzy lens of VHS tapes, sensed something truly special was within reach. The city of Liverpool itself seemed to reflect this anticipation. By midday, the streets took on a different rhythm, as if the working day had ended early, with fans spilling into pubs and gathering across the city, soaking in the weight of what the night might bring. As evening arrived, so did the sea of red. By 6 p.m., the area around Anfield was transformed, flags waved, banners soared, songs rang out in unison, and anticipation reached fever pitch. As kickoff approached, the stadium crackled with a unique energy. Anfield wasn't just full, it was alive, pulsing with raw emotion and unwavering belief. Then, just minutes after the game began, that belief was rewarded. At 8:04 p.m., Luis Garcia's controversial touch resulted in the goal that would be forever known as the ghost goal, a goal that, depending on whom you ask, either barely crossed the line or never did at all. But whether it was truly in or not mattered little in the end. Anfield had spoken. The crowd, the players, and the very spirit of the place had decided that the goal stood. There was no turning back. The dream of Istanbul had moved a giant step closer. From that moment on, Anfield became a fortress of pressure, noise, and unrelenting emotion. Every throw-in taken by a Chelsea player was met with hostility, every touch scrutinized by thousands of fans whose passion filled every inch of the stadium. The atmosphere was more than supportive, it was combative, defiant, and overwhelmingly one-sided. Supporters weren't merely watching, they were participating, pouring their souls into each 50-50 tackle, each clearance, each surge forward. The hope that had been passed down from older generations, once nothing more than stories and grainy images, was now tangible, living and breathing in the eyes and voices of a new generation of fans. It's no wonder, then, that the goal was given. For decades, players have spoken about the phenomenon of the ball being sucked toward the goal at the top end by sheer willpower, and on this night, that invisible force seemed to be in full effect. The celebrations after Garcia's goal were explosive, but what followed was over 90 minutes of near unbearable tension, as fans dared to believe but feared to hope too soon. And then it was over. The whistle blew. Jose Mourinho stood silently, arms around his disheartened players, as Anfield erupted. The stadium had become a storm of red and white, a whirlwind of joy and disbelief. Chelsea were not just beaten, they were consumed by the occasion. The home crowd's energy had been too powerful, their dream too loud to ignore. It had been a night filled with myth, magic, and momentum, a perfect storm of footballing fate. That goal, Garcia's touch, and the emotionally charged atmosphere that surrounded it were only the beginning. Liverpool would go on to stage a miraculous comeback in the final, overturning a 3-goal deficit and eventually winning the Champions League on penalties in Istanbul, a night that solidified that season's campaign as legendary. In hindsight, one could almost believe that it was destined to happen, as though the football gods had conspired to write a story too perfect to be true. Had modern technology like VAR been in place, perhaps the narrative would have shifted. Perhaps the goal would have been disallowed, and a piece of football history would have been rewritten or lost entirely. But sometimes, stories are better told with mystery. Sometimes, a retired club secretary's quiet certainty carries more weight than any video replay. And sometimes, football reminds us that not everything needs to be explained, because on certain nights, like that one at Anfield, magic simply takes over.